All right, the next tutorial that I'm going to walk you through is how to schedule round robin games for your season. So I've left off currently where I was in the previous tutorial with currently in our time slot calendar. Um, One thing that I do want to show you before we get too far along is it's important when you're putting together your schedule and time slots that you associate under each division, or actually each field, what teams can play there. So I'm going to show you this real quick. Um, if I go to my home screen, Mills Field 5, which is generally held for 5U, I can see that I've assigned these 5U teams to play games here. If I go to Mills 4, which is generally our 7U field, I've got this here. So it is important as you're scheduling games that if you're having difficulty scheduling games for a particular team on a field, make sure that they are part of the home teams option. As you can see, Mills Field 3 I've used as a flex. Right now I have no teams assigned to that. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to focus on scheduling games for my teams on the fields that they're primarily assigned to first, keeping Mills Field 5 for flex options, rainouts, practices, stuff like that. So I'm going to, for this initial run, I'm keeping no home teams assigned to Mills Field 3. I may change that if I have difficulty scheduling games on their associated fields. All right, so what you're going to do is once you go to the view home screen, which is what we're on now, you across the top here, you've got your schedule tab. It's going to take you to this point of view. You can see there's a division drop down for divisions as well as schedules. Um, what I'm going to do is create a 5U division schedule. We're going to call it, I'm going to create a new, hit the little plus button here. I'm going to call this regular season. I'm doing this because you may decide you want to create a playoff schedule. You may want to decide you want to create a practice schedule. So at this time, I'm just going to focus on the regular season game schedule. So I've created that, saved it. Then you're going to do round robin. It's going to take you to this particular screen, which has a number of different settings. The first things that you want to focus on are, okay, how many games do you want to play? I generally like to play 10 games. So I'm going to adjust this to 10 games. What it's doing here is telling me that I need to do 5U division, which I can click on this. I have 8 teams in this division, 8 teams with 10 games apiece. I need basically 40 time slots to create that season schedule. And what it's telling me here is I have 104 available time slots. You can see this division's time slots. That's all these 104 time slots over the course of the week. So I've got plenty here to get what I need done. What I want to do is set up my season. So, and you're going to want to do this especially if you end up adding time slots for practice and then also for the playoff schedule if you're going to do it. As we did in the first demonstration, we only focused on the regular season schedule, which is basically the end of September through the end of November. So what I'm going to do is select this, choose this date, go forward to which our opening day is September 28th. I'm going to hold the shift key and advance to the end, which our final week of the season is November 23rd. So I'm going to click that. As you can see, it highlights it. You can see the dates here, and then I'm going to hit save. And it shows you this here, just in case you lose track of the reference. Between games section, you can do a number of different things. You can have next day, okay. What I'm going to do is use weekend method, which what it does is it focuses on filling in your weekends first. Obviously, if we're trying to avoid certain weekends because we want to focus on travel tournaments, or there's maybe another tournament that's being hosted at our fields, we would want to make sure we block those weeks off. in our time slot calendar. But I've already done those for now. I've actually went ahead and deleted those weeks where we have conflicts. So what this does is it'll focus on those Saturdays first, and then we'll fill out the weekend of the weekdays for each team to fill out their 10-game schedule. Next, you want to look at the common settings. There's a number of different things here that you can adjust. The one that I primarily use is max teams games per week. I keep that at 2, so that's the max games I wanted to schedule for each team each week, 2. You can do a number of different other edits in here if you wanted to play with these. If you wanted to have a certain number of division games per week. So for all of your teams, they wouldn't play more than X number of games. You could put that in here. But for our focus, we generally focus only on the max team games per week. So then I'm going to click on the team settings. Again, there are certain things in here you can adjust: number of days before rematches, game days between games, max team games for the season. So you can maybe you want to schedule a certain team first. That might be something you may want to do if you're focusing on certain AB teams that maybe inside of your division. Maybe you want to focus their scheduling their games first. So you can also exclude teams on this run. I generally don't do those settings though. Venue settings. This is primarily just specifically to the venue. You want to have no more than X number of games at a certain venue each week. You could do that here. I leave these blank for now for the time being. These are other settings. Ignore the home and away distribution. The system's automatically going to try to balance the number of home games and away games for each team. So if you wanted to go ahead and ignore that, you could. I'm not going to do that for at least the initial schedule. Time slot settings. This is you can randomize all this. Schedule certain days of the week first. I do prefer this, and the reason why I do prefer to do that is primarily because we want to focus on maybe a Saturday, and then maybe we want to focus all of our games on Tuesdays and Thursdays and avoid other days of the week. That's good for concessions. That's also good for maximizing your time slots across both. So what I'm going to do here is put them in order of how I want them to be a priority. So I want to use Saturday first. And then I want to focus on Tuesday. And then I want to focus on Thursday. So that's our priority. So as it builds up the schedule, it's going to focus on Saturday games first. Then once it uses all the Saturday time slots, then it's going to go to Tuesday. And then it's going to go to Thursday. Generally speaking, what should happen when it puts this schedule together is you're probably only going to have all your Saturdays used, and then you're going to have fill up your Tuesdays, and then you're going to fill up your Thursdays. And depending on the number of games and how many teams you have, it may never even get down to Thursday. I'm going to move Sunday down since that's the last day we want to play, and then Wednesday and Friday in priority. And once I'm happy with that, I'll just hit save. Advanced settings, again, this is specifically more settings you can go with. Small division compensation pairing, limit game days per week. So all these are the different things you could do. I've got all my settings here now. Once you're happy with what you have, you'd hit schedule now. It's going to run the process of scheduling these games. And you can see here that it actually got caught. It scheduled 39 games, but there's one unscheduled game that still wasn't done. So I'm going to hit more. What I generally can do here is I can have it try one of these. I can turn off the weekend mode. I can turn off ignore home visitor balance. The first thing I'm going to do is try to rotate the team pairings. So maybe there's a reason why it wasn't able to schedule those games the first go round. So I'm going to hit rotate team pairings. It's going to run a process again. Oh, and actually it went well on that first try. Sometimes it'll have to go through that rotation of the pairings multiple times before it does it. What you can then do is you could lock those games, which is what I generally will do here. I'll lock those games so that they can't be changed without confirmation. So That's good. That's a good practice to have, especially as you're creating multiple schedules and you're confusing yourself. So then if you want to look at them, the best way to look at them, I prefer looking at them in the master calendar. You could review them in the game list, which is more of a Excel file view, but I like to see it in the calendar form. So click on this. Takes you kind of back to your master calendar presentation. I want to only see the 5U, so I'm going to, in my left-hand side filter, I'm going to select 5U and just the check divisions. And what you can see here, as it looks, let me go back to September here. Our opening day, the 28th, we've got Orioles and Marlins starting at 9 a.m. The following Saturday, it has games as well. We only have Tuesday games, so if we go back to our priority list of days scheduled, it's skipping Thursday, which is nice. So right, that's going to give us times to schedule practices for teams that they want. I can go forward to October. These are the 2 weekends that we currently have blocked off for travel tournaments, so there's no games scheduled on that. This looks pretty good. I've got Tuesday games every week. I got Saturday games every week. It doesn't even look like it's using Thursday at all. Now that's primarily because of the number of teams. So if we were like right now, we only have 8 teams in 5U, but if you were to continue to expand this to additional teams, like what we had in the spring of 2019, we had 13 5U teams. It's obviously going to trickle into putting games on Thursdays and even potentially games on Mondays to get the schedule built out. So it's a pretty good schedule here. I'm pretty happy with this. What I will do now is I'll go back and I will do the same settings for 6U. You can go for 6U here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams in 6U as well. Click on round robin. You can see this division time slot. So right now 6U is only using Mills Field number 6. I choose September 28th through November 23rd. Use my weekend method. I'm going to move this down to 10 games. Again, same number of teams, 40 teams here. Go to my settings. I want max team games of 2 per week. Team settings. I'm not going to adjust any of that. Not going to adjust any of the venue settings. Not going to worry about this. I am going to do my schedule settings to focus on Saturday, and then Tuesday. We'll move Sunday to the bottom, so that's the last priority day we want. I want to move Thursday to the 3rd option, so Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Not going to make any changes on this. I'm happy with how this looks. I'll go ahead and hit schedule now. Looks like it's going to have the same problem that the 5U had, so I'm going to hit the keep rotating team pairings. And it did it. Did it fine without any trouble on the second run. I'm going to go ahead and lock those games. I can go back to the master calendar. Takes a second to load here. Yep. There we go. And I'm also going to now show 6U with this. Hit check divisions. And it's actually going to overlay both 5U and 6U on top of each other. And you can see how they're color coded. 6U being in green and the 5U in blue. So that's how you do the first run of teams. I'll create another video here shortly with a couple other things to keep in mind. As always, should you have any other questions, do not hesitate to ask. Thanks.